Hello, lovely friends. How are you all doing? I hope you're well. I do hope you're well. I'm a day late. I'm coming to you a day late. Normally I would have my little summary of the month on the last day of the month. But this month, or it's now last month already, isn't it? That came the day after my great aunt's funeral. And I woke early yesterday and I just felt so utterly exhausted. Emotionally exhausted, I was kind of expecting that, but physically, oh my goodness, I couldn't get out of bed, so I didn't. I didn't get out of bed till about 1:30 in the afternoon. There were a couple of times sort of earlier on in the morning I was tossing and turning and thinking, I need to get up, I need to fill my thoughts on for the end of the month, I need to do this, I need to da. And I just thought, you know what, Vivi, relinquish everything today. You just need to catch your breath a bit. So yeah, I'm late. I still haven't caught my breath, not properly. It's odd to reflect on this month because it's so different to what my month normally is. Way back at the beginning of March, I was feeling really quite optimistic and excited because I felt for the first time in the last 4 years, literally since I left work, I felt like I was actually on top of things. I'm not going to say that I was ahead of my game, but I just felt like, yeah, I'm on top of things, I'm in control, I've got a good plan set out for March. Where is my water? I want a sip of water. Yeah, I've got a good plan set up for March. And something that I've talked about so many times, particularly in these end of month thoughts on videos, for the first time ever, I was actually planning a couple of days off. Woo! A couple of Sundays to have as just... I wouldn't do nothing on the Sunday. I'd do my laundry and housework and that sort of thing, but it's a day off psychologically because I'd made those days where I wouldn't be thinking about earning those few quid I need to earn each month to pay for the bills. So I wouldn't be doing any needle and thread sewing, I wouldn't be doing any gardening, I wouldn't be doing any video making. I was all set up to have a fantastic month. And I'd even managed to schedule into that a few things that had been outstanding for months and months and months that I wanted to catch up on and get done once and for all. So I was feeling incredibly positive at the beginning of March for the first time ever since, like I said, since I went without a wage. It's nearly 4 years since the last wage packet. Anyway, then, of course, great Auntie Teapop died, and that, just obviously it changed the month completely. And I can hardly believe, actually, that March has been and gone now. I think I was mentioning this a couple of weeks ago. It is a steep learning curve. When someone dies, yes, I've experienced that before. We grieve, we have our moments of tears, we have our moments of laughing at memories, but I'd never actually had to deal with things like organising a funeral, doing all that kind of the management, if you like, dealing with all her administration. What a shocker. It's like there's so much to do, I couldn't get over it. And there are still loads and loads and loads to do, but actually in those first few weeks my focus was sort out the funeral, make sure we give her the best funeral possible, get into contact with all the family members, because our family is scattered all over the world. That was the focus, and I sort of kept saying to myself, after the funeral I can do such and such, after the funeral I'll do such and such. So in a way it's sort of like it's like my life went on hold for March. So I haven't done my life. And that's okay, you know, it's okay. I don't begrudge her a second of it. But it does, I think one of my reasons for feeling quite so tired is because whilst I've been getting on with all of her things, in the back of my mind, I know that pile of things that's stacking up that I need to do for me. So even though I'm doing her stuff, I've got that awareness, and having that awareness, it's like I'm carrying, it's almost like I'm physically carrying that around with me all day while I do my bits and pieces for her. So I think that's one of the reasons that I feel so physically tired, considering I spent most of the month at home, indoors, you know, not going to the garden. I mentioned on my Facebook page a couple of days ago that I did have a quick visit there for a couple of hours, and it was my first time. I worked out I hadn't been to the garden for 4 weeks. Unheard of, especially at this time of year. I've never been away from the garden for so long. What was great about that though was throughout this month of being at home and being on I've been on the phone so much. I hate being on the phone. Whilst I was here indoors, thinking about the garden and thinking about all the things that I wasn't doing, it seemed much, much bigger and more, how to put it, it seemed like a much longer chunk of time by way of what I'm trying to say. Sorry, it's hard to articulate. I was feeling sort of by about mid-March, I was thinking, I'm not going to have a garden this year. Oh my goodness, you know, I haven't done any seed sowing. I haven't done this. It just felt like that was, okay, ditch the garden. I'm not going to have a garden. But then going there, looking around, and I thought, actually, you know what? It's still really quite early in the season. I've still got plenty of time. Yes, I'm going to be doing things later than I would in previous years, and some of those things I'll be doing 2 weeks later, some of the things will be 3 weeks later, but actually 2 or 3 weeks later, it's not that late, is it? And it's not so late as to be unrecoverable. So I was really glad that I did that day, that I went to the garden. It was a couple of days before the funeral, and pretty much everything was in place. It was a Sunday, so I couldn't do any work, as in phone work, phoning companies and all that for her, with her bills and what have you. I couldn't do any of that anyway. And I'd almost got to the stage where I didn't want to go to the garden because I thought, oh, it's going to be a disaster. I'll go after the funeral. Anyway, the long and the short is, I'm really glad I did go that day. It was great to have a breath of fresh air. It was lovely to see a couple of fellow plotters. I just want to say as well, my plot friends are so great. I had a message a week or so ago from our site secretary saying, no one has seen you. Are you okay? Your purple sprouting broccoli looks lovely and it's not being harvested, so we know you haven't been here. Are you ill? Are you housebound? Would you like me to harvest it for you and bring it to your home? That's so sweet, so thoughtful. So I wrote back to say, just briefly explain why I hadn't been in the garden, and to say, please, 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 please help yourself to any of my veggies, because I hate the thought of them going to waste. And it's the kind of things at this time of year, sprouting broccoli, which if we don't harvest, it'll blow and it'll go to flower, which is fine. The bees can have it at that stage. But yes, so a little bit all over the place. What's been interesting in the last couple of days, I always kind of reflect on the month anyway, and obviously bearing in mind I was going to be filming this, I thought yesterday, but you know, transpires today. One of the things I've talked about often throughout these last 4 years is that I'm I'm always running out of time. I never have enough time. And people, often say to me, "Oh, you should write a book, Vivi." And it's like, yeah, I'd love to. I don't have time. I'm basically doing 4 jobs, 4 foolish time jobs all the time. I don't have time. I'm always running out of time. I feel like, I don't have a routine. There are times I feel disorganised despite the fact that I'm quite organised. What this month has shown me by kind of dropping, to use the analogy I used the other day, I've dropped all my spinning plates. I've just left everything in order to focus on my great aunt. And what it's made me realise is I actually do have a routine. It's very flexible, but I do have a little routine. I have established a bit of a routine over these last few years. The routine of, spending between sort of 10 and 20 hours in the garden each week, another sort of 20 odd hours with videos, hours in the kitchen doing, when it's, at harvest time, when I'm doing my prepping and preserving, the routine of probably about 10 hours a week doing admin-y stuff, more hours whenever I can fit them in on the shop, not the sewing, needle and thread sewing side of things, but the other items. For instance, I've got a load of books at the moment to put into the shop. They're all photographed, they're all ready, but it takes ages for me to upload them into the shop with the descriptions and the weights and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I've got all these different jobs that I juggle, but they're all part of this routine of my new life. And like I said, sort of putting them all aside for the month has made me realise, well, yeah, how much of a routine I have and how much I enjoy it. I've really missed it. I've missed going to the garden this month. I've missed making videos. I've really missed that. I mean, there have been a few, and I'm so glad I'd done this. Literally a couple of days before Auntie Teapop died, I think I'd got about 3 or 4 videos in the can ready to come out. Thank goodness, because I could just pop them out and I didn't have to worry about them. So, yes, sort of taking stock now, going into another month. There's a lot for me to catch up on. Actually, one of the things I want to do today, I'm going to get you all into the computer and start editing and saving you. When you're done, as it were, one of the things I want to do is have a bit of a sort out in the flat. It is a mess because I've literally been, in my eye line now, my flat looks a mess quite easily, quite quickly, because it's small. But what I found in the last few weeks is I've been opening the mail, both mine and hers, because I get a lot of her mail to my house. I've been opening it and there's just piles of it everywhere. Normally, I'm very good at, I open a piece of mail, I deal with it straight away. It either gets filed or shredded, or if it's from one of you, I'll sit here and I'll show you things and I'll thank you for them. And if it's a book, I'll then put it away on the shelf to later on to be read. So there's piles of stuff everywhere where I've been, next to the sofa, there's a pile of pistachio nut shells. They've been there for days. How disgusting. I had some pistachio nuts the other day. I love them. But the bowl of shells is still sitting there by the sofa where I had them. My hairbrush kicking around on the floor. It's just mess everywhere. There's laundry I did a week ago that's still hanging out. It's dry, it needs to be put away. All those little things where I've basically been doing the bare minimum and then I just drop whatever I'm doing, go to bed, get up the next day. I don't think certainly not for my brain anyway, that's not healthy for me, because it's that thing of, it's so distracting. I want to have a really good tidy up today. Not necessarily clean. I'm not bothered about dust. but just have a tidy up, get things put away, get things into pile of what I need to deal with. And one of the really important things for me to do today is to plan this month of April, because there are things I need to sew. I'm a little behind. I'm going to film what to sew in April shortly. And that will be a really useful reminder for me as well of the things that I would normally sow in March, like tomatoes and celery. Those things I am going to prioritise because, as I've said many times before, I just wouldn't be able to do this wage-free existence without my garden. It's a huge, huge chunk of money saved from each year. It's sort of £1,500, £2,000 worth of veg I grow every year. So if I don't make a garden and I have to buy all that, where am I going to get the money from? It's crazy. It's crazy to have a garden there sitting, waiting for me. So I am going to prioritise it because it is my number one priority. It's my food. Also, Auntie Teapop would give me a right royal kick up the bum if I neglected the garden this year. She would be mightily disappointed in me and would have something to say about it. So yeah, I'll prioritise that, and then everything else will just have to fit in around it. Which means I know folk have been asking about bunting. You know, it'll happen when it'll happen. I'm looking forward this month to, my eye is twitching, can you see that? It's tiredness. I'm looking forward to getting back to normal. And it sounds funny to say that, getting back to normal with this life that's never normal. I would say, you know, there isn't ever a normal day. Well, there is a normal day. Sorry, my eye is twitching like mad. That's so annoying. Hang on. I'll have to do a Sheena and have a patch to speak to you. It's my normal, and it works for me. So, just to kind of, I'm going to go in a second because I'm finding life hard to concentrate on at the moment. I need to make sense of all the chaos, both the physical and the mental. But when I very first started doing these little videos at the end of the month, they were ostensibly to reflect on how was I managing both life without a wage and sort of growing my own food. It's the two strands. Right now, I've got plenty of stored produce still in my freezers in the kitchen. The very, very, very last of the fresh food in the garden by way of just a few brassicas left now. Very, very few. I've got a bit of curly kale, the purple sprouting broccoli. It's going to blow really soon. But yeah, so food-wise, I've got enough to see me through till... Yeah, I've got enough to see me through until May, June. So this is what we call the hungry gap. I'm okay for the hungry gap. Tony, bless you, Tony sent me a load of dried beans because the bean harvest was poor for me last year. It looks, having been to the garden the other day, it looks like I've got masses of flowers on my broad beans. It looks like I should get a good broad bean harvest, which of course will come about May. It's one of the first harvests of the year. So as my freezers and my frozen beans and my dried bean stock, as they get depleted, I'll have the first fresh beans again. So yes, from the point of view of food, I'm absolutely fine. From the point of view of this, this living without a wage, also fine. I haven't done anything other than videos this month for a bit of income, but a couple of the videos this month have done really, really well for me. The stuff on being frugal, lots of new subscribers, hello to you all. So that's really good. That's given me a bit of a safety net. So yeah, it's all okay. I think the only downside, in all honesty, is the thing about living sort of beyond frugal, living without a wage, I think in an ideal world, what I'd be doing this week for a week is I'd have a week off. I'd say, you know what, Vivi, you've had all that stuff leading up to the funeral. This week, this first week after the funeral, take it off. Don't be, thinking about videos, this, that and the other, whatever. Just to sort of regroup and rest physically and mentally. However, and any of you living this life will identify with this completely, that's a luxury that we just can't afford. Just can't afford it. So I think that's the only negative really about living without a wage is there's no paid holiday, there's no paid sick pay or any of that. I suppose the way to get around that, I'm thinking out loud now for myself for the future, is to say, at some points in the year, you just need to work harder. Like, say, work harder on the sewing, generate more income from that, and generate enough to be able to say, okay, you can have a week off. That would be great. So, yeah, it's my only negative, though. Everything else is still really, really positive. I still love my life. It's been a lonely month, though, I've got to tell you that. That's the only other negative. Oh my goodness, why am I finding negatives? This is unusual for me. I'm normally finding the positives, but yeah, it's been a really, really lonely month. I suppose that's inevitable, isn't it? That of all the times ever in one's life, that one really, really, really needs a hug. That one could really, really do with a partner in life, someone to walk through life with, is when dealing with this sort of thing. It would have been nice on these last few nights, to go to bed with someone else and to be spooned to sleep. But you know what? Such is life. I ain't got a partner, just get on with it, Vivi. So, yes, I'm looking forward to getting on with April. I'm looking forward to getting back into the garden. I'm really looking forward to getting on with videos again. I've got all sorts of ideas for videos I'd like to make and bring to you. I'm looking forward to being normal, to doing Vivi's life again. So I will see you really soon, I hope. In the next video, I'm out of practice speaking. Yes, I will bring to you the next video, which will be what to sew in April and what to catch up with. I can't speak. What sewing to catch up on from March, if like me you didn't get it done, but we still have time. It's okay. All right, my lovelies, I'm going to say cheerio for now. I wish you all a beautiful day. I will see you all again really soon. But in the meantime, please look after yourselves. Spread some love. Until next time, cheerio.